join that one. All right, guys.
Wait, what? Nani?
What?
Oh my, what?
Are we going live on YouTube?
We're live here.
Right now.
We're live right now. If you click the link, you will be able to watch us.
Live here. We don't even have to go anywhere.
No,
that's why this is so great. All right, well, we are live.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
We are live. And this is going to be our first episode of the Futuristic Lights podcast,
Woo!
FLCast for short.
We did it.
We've done a pilot episode on this. It's a new platform we're using, guys, and I hope you all enjoy it.
The original
my name
hosts
is
are still employed. Hell yeah.
My name is Brady. My Glover name is Current.
My name is Taj. My Glover name is Tajin, and together we are currently spicy.
You're damn right we are. We make a
Anyways,
great today.
Do you
We
want to
got
introduce our guest, or do you want to?
Guest.
No, look at this guy. Look at him. He got all dappered up for us.
You got all dappered up for us. Look at
you're wearing like a sweater, and I'm wearing like a polo, and he's got like a full thing going on. Dude, I feel underwhelmed.
I'm gonna say this, like, I love you guys to death. It's a very special occasion, but I did actually go see Mary Poppins in theater this evening. So I just decided I was already doing something that required me being fancy. Might as well stay fancy for you guys.
What is that tie knot? Wait, hold on, pause. That's the first. What tie knot is that? It looks so nice.
That's a Trinity knot. That's a tail end knot. So actually, there is no tail on this particular knot. It's tucked in up underneath of my collar up here, and it's known as an asymmetrical overhand tail end knot.
Interesting. Wow. I like that. That was the first question, by the way.
Question number 1. Dunzo. All right. Who do we got here? What's your name? On. Who are you? Tell me what you is.
My name is Zachary Smart. My Glover name is Zoinks. I hail from the beautiful DMV, also known as the East Coast region. If you guys weren't aware and aren't hip to it, East Coast is the Beast Coast, and I'm sorry, challenge us. We'll show you why, what's what.
Can I get a thinking emoji in the chat, please?
I've been planning for, it'll be 5 years next June. I always like to look forward instead of backwards. So I look to what I am going to be, not what I was or currently am. So I like to say 5 years. And honestly, I wouldn't trade it for the world. There's not a single thing that I can say I would be able to give up in place of gloving.
Damn. Well, that's awesome. That's an awesome introduction.
That's actually really nice. That's really nice to hear. It warms my heart when people be like, "This is my life now." I love that.
For people joining us on the first time on FLCast, if you haven't seen some of our previous episodes, basically what the goal of this is to get a real, like, just on our guest.
Yo, okay, wait. I just hovered over to the YouTube chat. Shout out to Tadful for the thinking emoji. Bless up.
Alrighty. So, like I said, our goal is to just get the best in-depth view of a Glover that we can. And today we got our pal Zoinks here. Lights affiliated, just like we are the head honcho. You already know what it is. So, first thing I want to talk about, guys, or first thing
collector.
Zach has honestly one of the most interesting stories of how he got into gloving. So I kind of want him to give a that all happened. So
I mean,
yo, is it story time? Should I get ready for bed?
It's story time.
Throw your PJs, kids, on. Throw some milk in the microwave. Sing yourself.
Well, I'm already wearing basketball shorts, so let's get to it.
We'll let Zoinks tuck you in. Where exactly do you want me to start?
Well,
from the beginning, from
day
one.
The injury that brought you to it. How about that?
Well, actually, before I even get to that, I want to say the very first time that I ever saw gloving was actually at All Good of 2012. And at the time, I had no clue what it was, and I didn't even have like the gumption or the balls to walk up to anybody that was currently performing the art and asking them what they were doing. I did that thing that a lot of people do, and I peered. I skulked and lurked off in the background, and I watched from a distance, and I loved it. I loved everything that it was about, so much so that I told at the time who was my best friend and now girlfriend, Danielle, that like I was kind of infatuated with it. And so when I took her to her first show, which was Avicii the very next year, Actually, yeah, I saw Avicii back in his heyday. That was one of my first EDM concerts I ever went to, and honestly, it was a triple plus. At that show, while we were walking to the smoking section, we saw a couple of people in the very back. And when I say very back, I mean like this venue was incredible. It's called the Hangar in DC, and it is legitimately an old World War II bomber plane hangar. And when I say this building is like 300 feet tall by 500 feet wide, like it is massive. You cannot grasp the scope of it when you step in. So the smoking section's all the way in the other side from the stage. And I mean, it's a good city block of a walk. So these people are off in the middle of nowhere, just doing their own thing with their gloves on. And I see them giving people shows. And I'm like, that's the disconnect that I didn't have. That's what I didn't see before. And we walked up to this one person, and both Danielle and myself were overly enthusiastic and asked him, like, what's the deal with this? What's the story? And he just said, sit down and let me show you. And he started throwing both of us a show at the same time. I was over top of Danielle with her head beneath of mine. And at that time, one of his friends walked up behind him and gave us a double show. And that was just like straight, just like swing out of the park. These guys were immaculately talented, and it drove it home. And we talked about it and talked about it and talked about it for months. And it wasn't actually until I had an injury that came up. It was 6 months after that show. I actually had to sadly get elbow reconstruction. This right here was the best way it was described to me was the doctor looked at me and said, have you ever seen those metal cables that are made of a whole bunch of smaller wires? I was like yeah, like the steel cables you see on the side of the road. And he said, you ever seen what happens when one of those is like forcefully ripped apart? And I was like, yeah, it looks frayed. It looks destroyed. He was like, welcome to what your elbow looks like. So they had to go an inch from both sides of the head of my elbow and cut muscles all the way around and reattach them back on, and actually like add something in there that helps it so that the muscle wouldn't be too tight or too stringent on my arm. And it was some sort of groundbreaking medical procedure. But at the time I was told I was only supposed to get 85% of the range of motion maximum back in my arm after that surgery. And like my entire life, I've played football, I played rugby, I did longboarding, skateboarding, surfing, like frisbee, ultimate frisbee. I was out there, I was doing it, and to figure out and find out that I was going to be losing so much of my body and the capabilities that I had fallen in love with just kind of shattered me. And so I was just desperate. I was going to physical therapy every week. I was spending an absurd amount of money going to a place that was 45 minutes away from my house 3 times a week to go in there for 5 to 10 minutes at a time, to have these people poke, prod, and stretch my wounds, and then ask what I've been doing for therapy. And I tell them everything they've recommended. And it was long, it was painstaking. And I was looking for other things outside of that. So my first thought was weightlessness. You can't do anything with weights in physical therapy. So what can I do to myself and with myself that's only me, that doesn't involve any sort of outside weight? And I remembered that person that was throwing a light show. And it all just kind of clicked. I was like, why not? Why not pick up something that's just going to at least help with finger dexterity? That's going to at least help with recovery to some extent. And so I picked up gloves. I spent $70 shipping and handling and everything included on a set of Trinities from eMazing, back when Trinities were like the introduction set to have. Like at the time, I was honestly trying to get the Gummy Nebula set, if anybody remembers from way back in the day. Like how beautiful that set was.
Glitch Mogdo.
Yup. Low-key shout out.
Damn. Well,
So
that's sick, man. I know, like, your progress. You're like, that really helped you, like, medically, right?
to finalize that story up, I started gloving, and within just a couple of months of it, I was going to my physical therapist and basically telling them like, I don't need you, and they were kind of taken, and they said, how so? And I said, look at my recovery, look what I'm capable of. Like, I'm happy to come to you once a week, and I'm happy to continue getting guidance from you, but I cannot continue shelling out money and time of my life and time away from work to come to these appointments for you to tell me to continue working on things. So I've kind of taken it in my own hands. And since then, it has been proven that, all right, I have a muscular problem, so my joints do bend a little bit farther. But you can see this is my right arm. This is all of the flexibility and range of motion I have with my right arm. This is the fucked up one. This was supposed to only come out to about here, is what they told me. And I was like, nah, fuck that.
That's unbelievable. It's crazy.
Yo, that's insane.
But that's like, it's just amazing what gloving can do. And it's like, a lot of people don't even realize that it's that good for you, but it actually is. It's like the dexterity that you get from in your hand and the amount of movement that you're doing, it's great for you.
To anyone who's first starting off gloving, one of the first things I always say is, like, to put it bluntly, you don't realize how stupid your hands are. You don't realize how much you aren't in tune with your own hands until you start practicing something as simple as the finger roll. Because you look at this.
You're literally living proof of like medical uses in gloving. It's insane. And I feel like in like 5-10 years from now, physical therapists are going to introduce gloving, and that's going to be the craziest thing.
I mean, it blew me away because ever since that, I've been forthright with gloving with every medical doctor I've ever talked to. Like, I've always told them it's one of my activities. And when I broke my collarbone, which if you guys want to see that, I'll happily disrobe and take off my beautiful garb. But I've actually got
just for time's sake and video's sake, let's not do that today.
Let's keep it PG. Let's keep it PG.
Okay, next time. I've got a plate that's holding my collarbone.
You wanna slide into my DMs later?
Taj, I'm pretty sure that almost counts as pedophilia on my side, so I need to be careful.
Actually, I am of legal age, so this is okay.
Hey, as long as you're offering, but just remember, you can't hashtag me to this.
That's in peace. Awesome segue into our next topic. Wait, what?
Wait a minute.
Speaking of,
about to
futuristic.
Talk about nah, all right. We just learned about your the medical part of it, but like that kind of led into like your passion for. I mean, the first time I ever saw you, because when I started gloving, I knew that I had to like stretch because my hands were. And one of the first stretching tutorials I found were your series, and I watched those religiously for months. And it was yours and Jess Mudra Yoga one. Those two, that your video series and Jess absolutely took me to another level. Honestly, I attribute that to like I'm only 2 years in, and like that's how I got so good because I focused so much on stretching my hands. That's you, sir. So tell me how you got really passionate about stretching, and then how you started the stretching on. How you like.
He kind of elaborated on that with his origin story, like a comic book hero. So
yeah.
I mean, first I'm gonna point out the slight shit-eating grin that I have on the face here, because thank you very much, man.
Did you know that? I don't think I ever told you that.
No, and
this is my first time hearing that.
And tell me honestly, anybody who listens to this, tell me that's honestly not like that's not a goal that you set out with when you first start gloving. Is can you make an impact? Can you do something that actually not only means something to you, but actually not only assists someone else, but gives them a reason to push forward, like a reason to be better than what they currently are.
Currently.
Shut up. Oh my God, Brayden, please.
I'm glad you caught it. I'm so glad you caught it. Thank you. You can't ask for anything more than that. You really can't. I mean, it segues in with the last story that I just told, because I had figured out that gloving was such an absolutely incredible source of physical therapy that Like when I got my collarbone replaced, like literally replaced, this thing's in 34 pieces underneath of a metal plate. It's a jigsaw puzzle. Like start playing the Tetris theme and we'll do an x-ray of my shoulder.
Can you do a show to that, please?
Dude, the Tetris challenge?
Dr. P.
That'd be great. We'll have to message
That'd be
Tetris.
hilarious.
Can we use your Russian music? Is that okay?
No, there's a Dr. P remix I can send you. It's pretty good.
It's lit, dude. Dr. P's Tetris is amazing. Okay.
Yeah, Brandon knows what I'm talking about.
All right. Tangenting.
Tangenting, always.
Well, then allow me to ask the next question. So,
no, hold up.
Wait, you gotta tell us about stretching, Taj.
I got
the goon.
Jump to the gun.
Yeah, Taj. Deep breath, my man. Alrighty. When I got my collarbone replaced, the entire time. I wish I could remember his name. I really do, but I've seen so many doctors that like in one ear out the other. I'm terrible with names to begin with, let alone with professionals that handle my body. So after I got my surgery done, like I told him about gloving beforehand. I told him about like all of my passions and my loves in my life, and I told him like this is something that I'm fearful is going to affect me and my capabilities to carry forward. And he said, honestly, it's one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard of for physical therapy. Like if you use this every day, you don't have to come see me for PT. You don't. It's not a requirement because it is something.
You're gonna get him. He's gonna lose his job because of you.
Gloving starts putting physical therapists out of work.
It's why I did.
It's an epidemic. Damn millennials.
Damn millennials.
It's all part of the baby bust. Baby bust 2017.
Cursed bastards. But yeah, so the collarbone injury led you to really be into stretching. So
that has part to do with it. But I actually found the stretching lounge probably about a year before that, and it was because I had known that it had always been that beneficial, and I wanted to spread that message around. It was at the same time that Futuristic Lights was holding their open tryouts, so I figured I really need to get my name out there. Like if I was serious about trying to chase down something as prominent as a sponsorship, people needed to know me for something. And instead of following suit and doing something that everyone else had done, I asked myself what I could actually contribute to those around me, and why not give them the same capabilities that I was given to actually get part of my body back.
What you're saying is you got good.
What you're saying?
I stepped up to the challenge. I saw what it was and decided to take action at the time. So that was my 2 minutes of fame. That was what I wanted to seek out. It's anybody in this scene only ever wants to really have their name known for one reason or another, and I found it. I was there. I love the ever-living bejesus out of it and back. And I wish I honestly had more stretches to put forward to that page, but I stopped seeing my chiropractor as often, and I stopped seeing my physical therapist because I no longer required it. And like they are where most of those stretches came from. They weren't really from me. I did some research myself. I learned a lot about the body parts and how they work, and how, you systematically go through different muscle groups in different styles of stretches. But most of them came from the people that went to medical school and actually have degrees in those fields. So that way I know you guys are only getting the best as well as myself.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. I mean, like, Crafty's known for dials, and there's Mez is known for clocking, and you're known for your contributions to the stretching. And honestly, like I said, anyone who sees this and is watching now or watches later, guys, if you want to get good,
you go to stretching lounge.
Just stretch your damn hands and arms. I swear to God, improve leaps and bounds faster than if you're just trying to glove and wave your hands.
Bet.
So, exactly.
I'm going to stop both of them real quick and say I'm always available for questions. Like I was mentioning, I've done so much physical therapy and spent a lot of times around chiropractors and massage therapists that I've learned a lot about it. I've picked up a couple of tips of the trade. So if you ever have any questions about what can better your body and how I can personally help you, my inbox is open.
Zach's going to have people lose their jobs. Good job.
Good job. All right. I think Taj has another question for you that's important to.
Well, now that you've talked about like the online scene and the and your backstory. I want to talk about the DMV in general. Did you help develop it? Did it find you? Did you find it? What's the story behind DMV? What is it?
The DMV in and of itself is an entity that was created and has spawned long before I ever came along, and I'm lucky to say I've even been able to play some part of a hand in it, because honestly, the DMV has been run by people more capable than myself for the local scene. And I owe a lot of who I am to those people, and that goes as far back to say, like, I'm one of those people, a lot like probably Taj and probably very much so like Brayden, that didn't have somebody for the first year and a half, 2 years.
Oh, I didn't have anyone for the first 4 years.
Like, wow. Gloving was still picking up in my time. Gloving was still not something that was massively prolific. You didn't have a Glover's Lounge with 25,000 people in it when I found it. It had, I think, 1,200. 1,000. Like it was something that was still upstarting and still beginning. And
I remember the lounge at like 5,000. That's when I joined.
Yeah. I personally did not actually reach out to anybody until one day I found Mike Cheatham competing in the very first Fable competition, which was like, gosh, 3.5 years ago. And I remember him going up against Puppet, and that was like the biggest what's what at the time. So I went out of my way to send him a message and just be like, hey man, I enjoy everything you're doing. Like, it's really cool to find someone from my local scene that's actually this big and this prolific. I had no clue who you were before this, so wanted to say hi. And he invited me to hang out. So like 3 days later, I got in my car and drove an hour and a half north and went and hung out with Mike Cheatham. And actually at the same time met Chris, my currently sleeping roommate. And those two have been best friends for as long as
the Shadow Realm. That reminds me. On my way.
That's kind of wow. And now obviously Mike's up in Seattle now.
Mike's up in Seattle, but
whoa. Can I get some censorship there? I think I just watched Chris get into the bathroom. Holy moly, he's like in his boxers.
It was in the middle of a very professional live stream. Thank you. No response.
Put your pants on, young boy.
He just wanted to.
This is a sponsor with us.
13 for a good second.
He's gonna get the video flagged. We're gonna get banned on Twitch, guys. Good job.
Banned. Ban hammer.
Banned on Twitch. That takes a lot.
Banned on. That'd be rough. That'd be real rough.
Back to the live stream. Get out, guys! No, Chris. You're.
What's going on, guys?
What's up?
He came in and said, "Oh my wa Moshindu."
Not the nips.
Nani?
Here, DMV. That actually perfectly. You asked about the DMV and what it's about. There you go. That's.
Everyone's just naked.
I could not have summed it up better. Like, you're trying to do something professional and something real, and then someone comes in out of the blue and just starts rubbing their nips. Like,
Glovers are weird, man.
I think I gotta go to DMV. That sounds like my kind of people.
That sounds like my.
But I was lucky enough through these two guys to be introduced to Candy Lights, and Candy Lights is one of the like OG East Coast fams that stretches back to before I even probably looked at gloves to begin with at my original Avicii show. Like, there's some Candy Lights fam that stretches to 2008, 2009. Like, we have people that are 32, 34, that are considered like the elderly fam. And I was brought on by Tim Fickenshire, Burst, Lionel Stoll, also known as Pop Pop. Edgar Barrios was fam. Josh Lee was huge fan for me. That's Steam Boy and Gur, respectively. Flip-flop the names. So Josh Lee, Steam Boy, Edgar being Gur. I was surrounded by so much talent and so many people that, like, at the time I thought I was hot shit. At the time I thought I was like on the top of my game and figured it out. And then I met all of these people, and I mean, these are still to this day some of the scariest people that I could ever imagine going up against in a competition. But at least now I say I can step to them because I was introduced to them and they taught me what they know. So instead of being fearful of these people, they brought me in and they showed me everything that they have learned about their craft. And the DMV. I mean, I wouldn't be who I am without them.
That's awesome.
That's
So
amazing.
I kind of, since you're talking about like the influence, I definitely want to cover the influence that you've had on myself and also the family. How
I
did
think that's a good segue.
you futuristic lights? I know it was the open sponsorship, but how did you like progress and become this mentor for all of us?
Thanks, bro.
Funny fact is actually I knew of Futuristic Lights back in my early heyday. When shout out to Infinity Lights, Taj, you probably remember what
That's major throwback. That was that's before Braden even started. Yeah. Holy moly.
I only started 2 years ago, guys. I have no clue what half the stuff you're talking about is.
Okay,
Infinity
so before
was,
Futuristic Lights, it was called Infinity Lights.
and Infinity Lights had the very first concept for the Bluetooth chip communication.
Okay, so that was when was whoa, like before even Kinetics?
Yes.
You learned something
Yeah.
there?
Then like I remember like it was like a month later. They're like they had Matt touching his hand, and then the lights were reacting, and that was like game changed.
What had happened was I had reached out to Infinity Lights and just told them that I loved what they were doing. That's something I like to do in my off time. I'm known for shit posting kind of often, and I speak my opinion, and I speak rather loud and brash often. But at the same time, I also speak my heart, and I try to reach out to them who truly mean something to me and say something. So I told them that I enjoyed their work, and at the time they responded back, and little did I know that the person that I was speaking to was actually our very own Michael Marchetti.
Oh, Dad.
Yeah, like FL Pop-Up. Yeah. And I hadn't put that connection together until I had held the open Futuristic Lights tryouts. And I mean, I put everything I possibly could into that bit, into all three of those particular challenges that they put forward. And I remember never grinding as hard as I possibly did, and probably since then as that 2-month time frame where I really put myself as forward as I possibly could to prove myself to Futuristic Lights. And I could not be more proud of Joe and for Nikki for what they did, because they spearheaded it. They're the ones who they started it all. I still look up to them. They are the OGs of the OGs, and I couldn't imagine anyone better picked for the role. But at the time, I will say, I was a little butthurt. I was a little upset. So I still kept striving. I still kept fighting for it. Yeah, butthurt Zach just buckles down and tries even harder. And so I with Camp Face Melt for Electric Forest, I think it was about a month and a half later, after the tryouts and after prospects were named and everything. And I was prospecting for Futuristic Lights alongside at the time, I think it was Anna Hoff and Fabian Brightman. So some familiar names all the way around.
Wait, Anna, really?
And yeah, Anna Hoff, Flower Child, she was one of the prospects for FL for a while, and we actually we offered it. She turned us down. I can't blame her. She that girl now cooks in 5-star restaurants. Yeah.
I mean, I hung out with Evan, Materia, her boyfriend, last weekend, and she's literally, anytime I go over there and hang out with him or him, he's never there because it's always obviously on like a weekend evening or something. She's always working. Like, I've hung out with her maybe 2 times since like the first time I met her at like the first Chicago Boss. So like, yeah, shouts to them, shouts to Evan, shouts to
life happens, man, and it goes on.
Shoutouts, Materia and Vincent Van Flo at Electric Forest for Camp Face Melt, the group that I was just speaking of at once again Electric Forest. I think that was 2014. Gosh, so long ago.
Isn't that crazy?
That's not too long. That's like half my gloving career.
2015. That was 2015.
Okay.
I mean,
it was like a third.
My Camp Face Melt for Electric Forest was like Julian Vittoro, Blastoff Sloth. We had Vincent Van Flo, Vincent Morrow. We had Evan Dallas, Materia. We had Anna Hoff, Flower Child. We had Loki, also known as Loki, respectively. I mean, our camp was absolutely stacked, and to be able to meet those people.
Okay, stacked like pancakes or stacked like waffles?
You don't stack waffles. That's horrendous. So
why would you do that? That's a crime against. That's like putting pineapple on pizza.
we can go ahead.
Okay, we're not tangent.
Braden, thank you. Actually, my sentiments exactly. But along with all of those other names, one particular name was at that Electric Forest, and that was also still our very own Michael Marchetti. And having met him in person and made the connection that we did, I mean, Michael and I are best friends to this day. I could tell that man anything and everything, and before anything else, we are friends. But it also doesn't hurt that he's the sponsorship leader and marketing manager for Futuristic Lights. So, you know, you make connections, you find friends in the right places, and you schmooze a little bit. You go out of your way to go above and beyond and prove yourself to the right people. And he happened to be one of them. So much so that, as a fun fact, my girlfriend and myself were actually invited to Michael and Brittany's wedding, and we actually flew out to California for that a year later.
Wow. That's awesome.
I remember
Crazy
seeing the pictures of that.
Absolutely crazy. So then your rise with Futuristic Light, obviously after that you got your sponsorship.
Yep, I hosted a FL Army, the very, very first official one for base lights of that 2015 as well. And right after the end of that, I got a really nice call from Michael about a day afterwards, and he offered me my sponsorship.
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
It all worked out in the end.
It all worked out well. That grind,
like a Disney princess.
That grind is very important.
I mean, so look at it this way, folks. If you're not achieving what you think you want to achieve, remember, I put my nose to the stone hard for 2 months and then continued that work for about 8 more months before I actually achieved the goal that I wanted. So 3/4 of a year was spent on something that I set out to do. It's all worthwhile. Just don't stop. Keep making impressions.
Okay, so the mental image I just got there was 2 months and then.
Yeah, gotta work, man. Gotta put in the work.
Yep.
So, obviously, been huge for you. I want to definitely extend my gratitude because you bringing me on.
Same here. I mean, I was not expecting the messages I received from you, from Michael, and it just like blew me away when I got them.
Dude, oof, man, I remember Joe
Michael literally slid into my DMs on like the most random day, and I was like, "Oh, okay, for sure." Let me think.
Quick and say about what did Michael reach out to you for?
Well, Michael started off and like he literally slid into my he went on the main Futuristic Lights page and then DM'd my Instagram page saying, "Hey, we're reworking our sponsorship layout format. Would you be interested in joining?" And at the time, I wasn't so sure what I was going to do because I was managing Facebook pages for 3 different companies. I don't know how that would look on me, and like if that would be okay. Would I lose what I'm doing? Can I keep doing what I'm doing? And then I just made the ultimate decision that like nothing's going to stop me from not doing what I'm doing.
And Futuristic is so flexible, honestly, and they're really, it's awesome. I think.
And
that like
quick, gonna reverse the role. What about you? What messages did you receive?
So Joe, in one of my videos, I'll be honest, I was like, all right, Zach Smart, who is he? I know that name. I was hoping because I had expressed him before that like I was interested in Symbol, just on Symbol, and I didn't know that. So I was hoping that was it. And I like flipped out. I was my friend. I was like, yo, I might be getting on Symbol because like the person that helps me run ambience at ISU was like into gloving too. Like freaked out. And that's what I thought was happening. I was like, yo, I might get on Symbol. Like this is lit. And then he hits me up. He's like, yo, he said, I can't even remember the entire message. I just saw the word sponsorship and my jaw dropped and I scrambled to your page immediately. I was like, all right, wait. This can't be right. I was like, wait. And I saw it was like,
where's the cameras?
No way. And Joe acknowledged that because the Aethers, when I got by far blew every chip out of the water. I'm never getting rid of my Aethers. They're my babies. And of course, anytime anyone asks like, yo, what chip should I get? I always was like, yo, get the I promise you, you'll never regret it. Like, they're perfect. So I'd repped FL a little bit, and that's what he cited was that. And he sees my grind, and I mean, I'm really early on in my gloving career and doing pretty well for myself. I placed like 6th in boss or something, or no, 4th in boss. Like a year in, and I placed 4th in boss. And yeah, so I mean, I worked really hard, and you guys noticed, and it was the biggest blind side of my life, and I didn't notice, like, I didn't believe, I didn't think that I deserved it. So all that made me do was just like put in more work. And since then, honestly, my progression from like 0 to a year was good. My progression from a year to 2 has just been like ridiculous because I've put in the work for FL, and I always will. The coolest thing about it, I think, is that like I got an unexpected family out of this. Like, I didn't know that I was going to have
we got adopted
close relationship with so many people, and it's amazing. It's really. And that's what FL does, though. We're family lights before anything else. It's amazing.
Yo, shout out to everyone who joined Family Lights this past weekend with Black Friday. That was
shout out to all of you people.
That was the most fun live stream I've had the pleasure of being a part of.
Outside of just joining the FL Army, anyone who joined this past weekend and hung around in all of those streams and actually was like dedicated to it, I know who you are. I saw the names. I was in almost all of those, and you guys, you humble and continue to do nothing but just make me thankful.
We love you guys very much. Don't leave me.
All you guys. Anyone who's watching us and continues to support us, thank you so much. One last question for you. I just want you to give your general advice for any glovers, new, old, anything that you can say, and then I want you to give a few shout outs to whoever you want to give shout outs to, your teams and all that. And then we'll wrap this up, guys. Our first episode. It's already coming to an end. It might fly.
Yeah.
Congrats, guys. I know it's been a long works in the making. So I'm very happy to see this actually like lift up and get itself off the ground. We got feet. We got things to stand on. So I'm
lift off.
Thank you guys for spearheading something like this and starting up something that's going to be unique and going to be something different. My advice to glovers, both new and old, is going to be something that I remember Mike and myself on a night of some pretty crazy partying had a conversation about when we were walking just side by side in drizzling rain as he was about to leave for Seattle, Washington. And this was right after I had gotten my sponsorship. So at the time, we were, quote unquote, the only 2 sponsors on our portion of the East Coast and the ones in the DMV. Like, we had 2 different competing companies walking side by side and talking to each other beautifully. And there was, it's what I've always held myself to, because the drama and the separation and the division doesn't need to exist. And having friends in all of these places proves it to me. And that conversation right there set it in stone. But in that same conversation, Mike and I talked about gloving sarcastically. Glove in such a way that your movements are overly emphatic. The movements that you are making are perceived to be twice as fast to your viewer as you feel you're throwing them. So if you feel like you're throwing at 1 times speed, to whoever's watching your show, it feels like you're throwing at 2 times speed. Like, you're going a little crazy. And take a step back, take a deep breath, glove sarcastically, take a minute and really emphasize something that you feel is important to your shows and what displays your talents the best. It's not about always throwing the most tech or being the most incredible or intuitive. It's about displaying you and your personality through the lights that you're wearing on your hands. And while I'm on that, your lights don't make you. You make your lights. So we'll make that one simple.
Ions, though.
Shout outs?
Ions, though. Adams, though.
I'll let the subtle plugs come in as the subtle plugs come in. My shout outs are going to be to a lot of people I've already mentioned in this, but first and foremost, my first shout out has to go to my girlfriend, Danielle Jarvis, also known as Liquis. I mean, for everything that I've ever done and every accomplishment you guys have brought up in this particular conversation and things that we've talked about, she's been there with it every step of the way. She's seen the recovery from all of my surgeries. She's seen me taking on my mantle as a sponsor, then me taking on the mantle as the leader of the sponsorship crew. She's helped me in a lot of times where, you know, I was doubtful of myself and doubtful of my capabilities and my powers. So I have to give all of my love and passion to that first and foremost. Other notable shout outs are going to be the people that inspired my style and who I am as a glover. So Mike Shaw, the very first glover I ever met, I could not thank him enough. He was the guy who kind of set in stone what meeting glovers and having exchanges was about. He was my first official trade I had as a glover. Like, it doesn't get better. That was 9 months in. Like, it was so long into my gloving career, and I only met him once for a very long extended period of time. I'm going to give shout outs to Outlaw. I mean, Mike Cheatham introduced me to the DMV fam, who also brought me into Tim, Edgar, Chris Facey, that dude who rubbed his nipples, Lionel Stoll, pop up again. Just the people who showed me what gloving and family and community is about, and people who helped me instill what my morals and what my justifications are for how I handle myself in both my scene and on the online scene. And then my last shout out, of course, I can't help but mention the family that I became a family member of, and then became someone who is looked up to as more of a role and more of a kind of like a fatherly figure. Like, I've had the ability to bring on so many, not even just talented glovers and talented artists, but just talented people outside of what they do in their art form. And to say that I'm surrounded and immersed with this much love and this much talent has been nothing short of a blessing, and something that I can't be nothing but endlessly grateful for.
My heart, my soul, please.
My heart. Hell yeah. Well, we can tell you, we absolutely love you. We appreciate you. Futuristic Lights.
Thanks for joining us today.
And we are totally family. I can't wait for our first trade when we get it. Same with you, Taj. Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Oh yeah, none of us is traded with
Stop
each
the
other.
broadcast. Thank you everyone for watching. We appreciate
thank you for joining us.
We'll get on a regular schedule going here soon, and we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.